Hey everybody, today we're going to be looking at the surf rods that we use when we're shark fishing at the beach. First rod we're going to look at is one of two 12-foot Ocean Masters. This has been modified by cutting 9 inches off the butt, so really it's just a little bit over 11'3". I put a big Fuji butt cap on it. I put heavy grade cork and then X-Flock over it. And on this Ocean Master, I extended the grip out with the cork and then puts the X-Flock over it. On our other Ocean Master, it has the cork only up to here, and the butt is 20 inches versus 16. Other than that, it's exactly the same rod. And it weighs 27 ounces, as does this rod. 27 ounces is unbelievably heavy for a surf rod. This Ocean Master is the older version. This rod is almost 13 years old. The newer versions of the Ocean Masters already have the X-Flock, but they have different guides and they have more graphite in them, so they're lighter. The specs as far as the weight they can throw and the line rating is about the same. So this rod is rated 6 to 12 ounces, 20 to 50 pound line, and it is a medium heavy rod. All of the guides, this is a 2-piece 50-50 split. All of the guides is on one section, and then the butt section is the other part. So this rod it's kind of hard to do because it's kind of bulky and long. This is the way we transport them. So this thing's set up, all I do is put the reel on the bottom of it. So this rod will easily throw an 8-ounce weight and a big chunk of bait. It takes a 6-ounce weight and a decent sized bait just to load the rod. That's how powerful it is. It is extremely bulky to handle, and any shark under 6 foot is really a waste of this rod. And to catch the little sharks on it is just pretty depressing. She did catch her trophy 6 foot, 125 pound brute black tip with this rod. That was almost exactly 3 years ago. It was March of 2017. She fought it for 15 minutes, and this rod almost broke her. It was too much, even with the little fighting belt. So after that, she doesn't use this rod anymore. It's out of the rotation. I'm going to use it this year with the Cabo 120 with some balloons to throw some live bait, and I can throw a leader up to 14 feet long with this thing. So that's what I'm going to try to do. But as far as she goes, you're not going to see her with it anymore. It's just too much rod. It's too much rod for a lot of guys too, to be honest with you. The next rod we're going to look at is the 11-foot Tica. Okay, before we look at the big Tica, we're going to briefly go over her little fighting belt. This is the Williamson lightweight travel rod belt. This is the single biggest reason that she's able to catch the sharks. Without this, she couldn't catch the big sharks, period. It works so well that I've modified my rods for it and my leader system. This is the Williamson lightweight travel rod belt. It comes with a belt. We got this from Tackle Direct. The belt got thrown in the trash because it's worthless. I put my U.S. Army web belt on it, and it's very wide and it distributes the weight, and it's very comfortable for her to wear. You see her wearing it all the time. It's like it's not a big deal for her to wear this. If the shark rod's in the water, she's wearing it. If the bluefish rod's in the water or the cut bait rod, she's wearing it. Without this belt, she just couldn't catch the sharks. And all of my rods and my leader system is really built around this little belt. That's how effective it is. So this might be something that you might want to look at for a lightweight belt. This is our big Tica. It's 11 foot long, but it's had 7 inches cut off the butt. So really, it's 10.5. I put X-Flock over the grip, just over the factory cork that was on there, which was pretty thin, and put the bigger Fuji butt cap, and the butt is 16 inches long. This rod weighs 20 ounces versus 27 for the Ocean Master. I really, really like this rod, but it's a little much for her. The first video we made on the channel, our very first trip with the GoPro, and she hooked shark with it. We really didn't know what we was doing as far as filming, and the GoPro was too far away, and we had it on 720p. But she did catch her 64-inch black tip with this. It took her about 6 minutes to get it in. So I said, okay, wow, she can use this. Then we hooked a huge stingray. You got to tighten the drag down on the stingray or they'll stick to the bottom. So this rod is 10'5", and even with her little belt, it's a little long and it's extra heavy. And it's an extra heavy action, 17 to 40 pound, 3 to 8 ounce. It is a very, very powerful rod. And this is a graphite rod, there's no glass. She lasted 6 minutes with that stingray, and it was just too much for her. She had to sit in the sand, and I had to take the rod, and that video's on the channel. After that, I pulled the rod out of the rotation for her. But I really, really like this rod. It is a 60-40 split, where, like the Ocean Master, all of the guides is on one section. And these are bigger guides, a better guide layout than the Ocean Master as well. And the bottom section is just the butt. So this functions almost like a one-piece rod because this section is the butt section is shorter. A very powerful rod. It's got a little tip action to it, but it's extra heavy. And it does not bend like the Ocean Masters. A true extra heavy rod will bend a little bit in the first third of the rod, and then it kind of stops, and that's what this does. I may end up using this year more at low tide than the big game rods. But this is a really good rod. You can throw a 6-ounce bait. You can throw a 6-ounce weight and a decent sized bait with this, and you can throw an 8-ounce weight and a medium-sized bait with this rod. It'll do it. So now we're going to be looking at the next two rods is where she's caught most of the sharks on. So now we're going to look at the, first we're going to look at the 10-foot Ocean Master. Okay, we have the 10-foot Ocean Master now. This is my most versatile shark rod that I got. It was 10 foot, but I cut 7 inches off the butt, so it's 9.5. It's got the big Fuji butt cap on it like all the other ones. I put heavy grade cork, put the X-Flock just like the previous rods. It weighs 17 ounces. So that's not too bad compared to 27 for the 12-foot Ocean Masters. This rod is rated 15 to 30, which is underrated. It's more powerful than that. It's rated 4 to 8 ounces, and if anything, that might be slightly underweighted too. And it is a medium action. And it gets not quite a parabolic bend in it, but it gets a really nice bend in it. And it's kind of soft, but it's really powerful. You can throw an 8-ounce weight with this and a medium-sized bait. You can throw a 6-ounce weight and a pretty big bait with this rod. It is like the previous Ocean Master and the Tica, all the guides on the top section. And then the bottom section is just the butt. So this was a 60-40, I think, before I cut this, and now it's a little bit less than that. So a very, very versatile rod. She caught the 65-inch black tip, and she caught the 67-inch black tip with this, plus she caught the lemon shark with this. She used the Fenor 7500 for the lemon and the BG 8000 for the previous two sharks. This rod uses the BG 8000. This is the main rod. I can bring this rod, and whatever condition shows up at the beach, I can fish with this. I can wade out 125 yards if I have to. I can throw an 8-ounce sinker if I have to. So it's very, very versatile, and it's a really good rod for her at 9.5, and it's soft. And after she did that with the lemon shark, after she caught that, then I knew that we really had something with this rod. So the next rod we're going to look at is the Tsunami Airwave Elite. Okay, this is her Tsunami Airwave Elite. It's 9.3. I cut 2 inches off the butt, put the Fuji butt cap on, and the rod's just under 9'2". The butt is 15.5 inches long. It already had the X-Flock on it, and I put some back tape for her to grip the top part with. This rod is 100% graphite. It only weighs 13 ounces. Compared to all the other rods, it's quite light. It is a 3 to 5 ounce. That might be slightly underrated because I can throw a 5-ounce weight and a medium-sized bait with this rod. A 6-ounce weight and a shark bait is a little too much for this. And it's 20 to 40 pound, and it is a extra heavy. But unlike the Tica, it gets a bend in it like the 10-foot Ocean Master. Not a parabolic bend, but it gets a really good bend in it, which for an extra heavy rod, that's normally not what happens. It bends in about the first third, and then it kind of really stiffens up after that. This one does not. This rod it is a 50-50 split. And the one thing I don't like about the rod is the guides are split. So you have most of the guides on the top part, but then you have the main guide on the bottom. So I do not like that. It does fit in the car better, being a 50-50 split like this. It's very small. This rod with the Fenor 5500, she caught the 100-pound blacktip, the 6'3" spinner shark, and she caught a 62-inch blacktip with this. I thought she was going to break this rod on the 100-pound blacktip. She was high sticking it and just really horsing it. With the previous rods, the big Ocean Master, which she doesn't use anymore, the big Tica, which she's probably not going to use anymore, but her 10-foot Ocean Master, she can walk backwards on the sharks. And there's no way that she's going to break that rod. She's not strong enough to hold it to cause enough pressure to break it. With this one, I was really worried that she was going to break it, but it didn't. This rod is completely different than the other rods. It is really, really light. And I'm running the Cabo 80 with this rod now. And this has been our light shark rod. And instead of the Fenor 5500, I got the Cabo 80 with it. It sits a little bit lower because of the 15.5-inch butt than the 10-foot, which has a 17-inch butt. And this rod is easy enough to handle to catch the bluefish with. It's way overkill for the bluefish. But since it's so light, and with the Cabo 80 especially, and she uses it with the fighting belt for the bluefish, so it allows me to use this rod for the bluefish, because as soon as I put a shark rig on it, then we're in business. If I put a shark rig on the 9-foot Tikka rod, we did catch the 5.5-foot blacktip with it, but that we kind of got lucky in my opinion with that. I feel a lot more comfortable with a 5.5 or 6-foot shark with this. But I really, really like this rod. There's a possibility that if she high sticks it on a really big fish with the drag tight up close to the beach and it makes a run, it could snap it. Hopefully we're going to avoid that. But she could not walk backwards like she did with the lemon shark. It's just leaning back at a 45-degree angle. This rod will break. But it's a really, really, really nice rod. If you was getting a rod for surf fishing and you sometimes fish for the sharks, they make a 10-foot version of this also. So you have a 9.3 and a 10. And the 10 weighs, I think, 2 ounces more. Pretty similar. This is a good versatile rod as far as surf fishing goes. It's much lighter than the 10-foot Ocean Master, and you could surf fish with it, even for pompano and stuff. And then you could also fish for the sharks with it. So a pretty versatile rod. So these are the surf rods that we use for my wife to catch the sharks. We have some big game popping rods that are 8.5 feet long, and I have the 8-foot Terramar. I'm going to have to do a separate review on that, and this video will be 30 minutes long. So I hope this helps somebody as far as if they're looking at these rods, or to give them an idea when they're looking at a shark rod, what to look for. And good luck catching a trophy blacktip.